It's time for another double indie game review, this time with two different takes on classic platforming. First, 3D platforming with Koa and the Five Pirates of Mara, and then 16-bit platforming with Super Catboy. Koa and the Five Pirates of Mara is a 3D platformer that's kind of designed around like a core or casual audience. We play as Koa here, armed with a backpack, her little spirit friend, and the ability to do lots of platforming. She is on a mission to bring peace to the island chain when the Five Pirates of, Mara are causing trouble. Despite dealing with pirates and going through a lot of obstacles, as you can see, this is definitely a low-stakes style game. There is no threat of permanent death. Koa here can jump into lava, and at most she'll go out from it. The platforming is on the, I would say, basic side for the most part. Your only real, unique movement tech as you're watching me play is using her roll. That when you press the kind of run button when you're falling or declining from a jump, will allow you to do this roll that increases your movement, as well as lets you jump further. This is going to be a major point when it comes to doing speedrun tech in the game, as this is your fastest way of getting around. The overall difficulty of Koa is on the easier side. You're going to see me probably die a few times in the footage here, and that's from me just going full, hog wild in terms of the platforming. In between the stages, you'll return to your island hub where you can buy different cosmetic options. There is a kind of race mini-games as well, and each level has collectibles for you to find. And if you're going to play this for 100%, it will probably take you, I wouldn't say a huge amount of time, but at least a decent amount, while the normal path through the game can probably be beaten in a weekend. The level design is on the good side. Every world has a unique theme, and every level will explore different elements of it. Again, you are not going to be seeing a Super Meat Boy Kaizo level of difficulty in this game. And if you are hoping for a 3D platformer with some teeth to it, I don't think Koa here is going to be the right one for you. In terms of problems with the game, I just have two, and they're more from a polish standpoint rather than from a gameplay one. The first is that the camera is adequate. You do not have full control over it. What that means is that if you're trying to retrace your steps in a level, or certain camera angles can make some of the jumps needlessly frustrating. This is coupled by the fact that you don't have a really effective shadow when you're moving in 3D, depending upon the viewpoint that you're in. You can kind of make out the shadow in a few cases on the footage I've been showing, but there were plenty of times when I was kind of moving in and out of planes of the camera that it was not really giving me an accurate feedback as to where I'm going to land. Another kind of UX issue that I have with the game is how the roll works. As I said, the roll is tied to pressing down the run button as you're coming down from a jump. But you see, you need to hold run as you're moving around. If you let go of the run button while Koa is in the air, you lose all momentum. So there are cases where during a lot of heavy platforming and you're constantly moving, jumping, and trying to run through it, if you accidentally press the X button the wrong time, Koa will land and then immediately do a roll, which can easily take you off a platform or into a pit. And again, this isn't a huge issue, but it's these kinds of little things that do hurt the game, at least from achieving 3D platforming greatness. If you are someone looking for a more casual 3D platformer to play, or one for a younger audience or someone new, then I would recommend checking this one out. Again, it is quick enough you can get through it within a weekend, and you're not going to have to worry about too much in terms of advanced platforming. This is just all around a very solid 3D platformer that sticks the landing. We now go to Super Catboy. This one is inspired by the 16-bit era of Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, when an evil mad scientist is making half-animal, half-humanoid creatures. We are a cat with a vest, sneakers, and a gun. And scene. That's pretty much our story. The game, again, goes back to those old days where platformers just had to be an excuse for you to do some platforming. As Catboy here, you'll be able to run, jump, shoot, and beat up enemies in close range. The general platforming in this one feels very solid. He is incredibly responsive to move. You'll gain the ability to do dashing as well as wall climbing and jumping. Melee combat is a little hit or miss, admittedly. The second you are within melee range, enemies can start attacking and almost stun lock you in a way until you get out of their attack range. And the gun is definitely the safest way to get through things. The platforming, or just the overall difficulty of the game, I would say is on the moderate side. Camera is a weakness in this one. There are cases where Catboy will be too far on one side of the screen for you to react to oncoming pits, hazards, and so on. Now, the other thing about this game is the level design. While I really like some of the background designs, especially some of the kind of multiple depths are very impressive, the levels kind of lack focus. As in, it just feels like things go on until, well, that's the end. There's no real build-up, there's no real sense of escalation in these levels. The only exceptions are when you get to the boss fights. And boss fights are okay, they're very pattern-heavy and can be a little health spongy here and there, but they do break up some of the monotony of the game. And it is unfortunate in that respect, that the game just feels like it goes on until it just stops. Like there's no build-up of getting to the big climatic fight, and it just kind of ends. That doesn't make this a bad game by any stretch, but it does kind of keep it from being one of the more memorable modern retro 2D platformers. So if you are someone who, once again, is looking for another game to kind of kill a weekend with, and you enjoy cats, I would check this one out, but don't be looking for anything that's going to be, I think, overly revolutionary for this kind of design and genre. And with that, I would like to thank the developers of both games for providing me with press keys to check them out. If you'd like me to go to your game for a future stream and review, please reach out. That's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to do the YouTubing stuff people tell you to do. If you're interested in more of my thoughts on design, check out my books wherever they are sold. Visit our Discord and Patreon, and come back for discussions on game design here, and on game wisdom, where some of the art and science of games.